you are literally cutting out so much of your target demographic. I try to tell folks, like, think about when you're surfing for something on the internet. You may start off on your phone, or it may come down on, TikTok shop or Instagram shop. And then by the time you hop over to your desktop, it's sending you ads on YouTube. And by the time you get to your TV, maybe you're pulling up YouTube on your TV and you're getting pushed advertisements or media that way. And so when you refuse, or you don't even try to submit yourself in front of these more non-traditional outlets, you're really cutting off audiences who are consuming media or press or their news in a completely different way.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Welcome back to the Black to Business Podcast. I am your host, Monique T. Marshall. So you're showing up, you're sharing your wins, you're telling your story, you are doing everything they say that you're supposed to do to get your business noticed. But somehow it still feels like the recognition only comes if you've already quote unquote made it. So if you've ever felt like visibility only comes to those with big platforms or flashy announcements, this episode is for you. Because the truth is, you do not need a viral moment to be seen, but you do need a strategy that meets your audience where they are. And that's why I'm so excited for you to hear from today's guest, Leah Frazier. Leah is a two-time Emmy Award-winning media strategist, journalist, and CEO of Think3 Media. With years of experience helping entrepreneurs build meaningful, long-lasting visibility, Leah is all about teaching you how to show up in ways that actually moves your business forward. In this conversation, she breaks down how to diversify your media coverage so that you're not just seen, you're seen by the people who matter most. We're diving into how to stop chasing traditional press that doesn't convert, how to find the right platforms for your goals, and how to turn every feature into a long-term asset for your brand. So without further ado, let's get into it. Leah, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. Good to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yes, I am excited that you are here because today we're talking all about your area of expertise, which is how to diversify your media coverage to scale your brand. But before we get into that part of the conversation, I would love it if you could share a little bit about your journey from attorney to Emmy-winning media expert and what you do today.
Sure. Yes, I was licensed in 3 regions as an attorney, Texas before the United States Supreme Court, and I had also passed and taken the bar in the state of California. And while I was doing all of that, I was pursuing just journalism on the side, just getting my creative juices out, covering fashion. And that passion of mine ended up blowing up into a business, a full-scale business, and into TV opportunities and media, and going to New York Fashion Week, and really covering fashion on an editorial level. And I was doing that and, had my job as an attorney at the same time. And I finally decided about 7 or 8 years into it that I was exhausted and I needed to choose one or the other. So I chose the more fun route, which was the journalism. I was doing some styling, some creative projects. And what I noticed as I was doing this passion of mine was that there were a lot of small businesses, a lot of small and independent fashion designers that just really didn't know how to market their brand. They really didn't have access to funding for PR. And I just naturally had a book of resources because all of the fashion journalists, the bloggers, all of those folks were my friends. And I was like, what if I could be the bridge between them and getting in front of these editors, getting their stories told. And so in 2015, I started Think3 Media with the sole purpose of it being a marketing and public relations agency. And then we got tapped to do a couple of creative projects with our local ABC affiliate here. And again, I went into it just being creative. I had no idea that they submitted those commercials and marketing promos for Emmys. And we ended up winning 2. And we were nominated. I know. So I woke up with a phone call like, oh, that commercial that we spent all day shooting and da da da, we won an Emmy for it. I was like, we did.
Yeah.
And then got tapped for another project in 2020, and it was right in the midst of all of the social and racial injustice and unrest that was going on. And we came up with a project called While I Have Your Attention. And that one was nominated for an Emmy. So we did not win. But again, there's just these projects that I have taken on just straight out of passion that have turned into really impactful and meaningful projects. And so when I think about Think 3 Media and what we do, that's what we do: creative storytelling, communications, public relations, and publicity, but with impact, and specifically amplifying the messages and the value of Black-owned businesses and organizations.
That is such a powerful journey and story. So, Leah, I just feel like, when you talk to some people and they just have it, you just got it because you're like, I didn't even think, and then we won this award, and then all the things, and it's just like, yeah, I'm just that good. It's easy to me.
I
And,
did it. You don't, when you go into some things, sometimes in business, especially if you're an entrepreneur,
hmm
you may get bad advice, and folks will tell you to focus on the money. And I understand it. We sometimes you got to hustle, you have to make money, but
Yeah,
sometimes the most beautiful blessings come from when you're just doing something for the pure joy of it.
yeah,
And the projects we won Emmys for were basically a phone call. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just said yes because it sounded like this is my jam. And then
yeah.
before you know it, they ended up being some of the most impactful projects that I've had in the portfolio to date.
That is beautiful. And that's a lesson for somebody else who's listening, is just like going with that purpose and passion, and the things will find you that need to. So
Absolutely.
that is really good. And you talked about seeing the need for business owners to amplify the work that they were doing in a creative way. And when it comes to media, Leah, what do you think are some of those big misconceptions that you saw entrepreneurs having about getting media coverage?
Well, the first thing that anybody does is we're always looking to the left and the right. Like, oh, I see so and so, and they're on, Good Morning America or the Today Show or Tamron Hall or whatever. So I should be on there too. And this comparison theory that we have, especially when you really try to break down your strategic marketing or your strategic communications plan, is that what works for somebody else will not work for you or may not work for you. It
Yeah.
all comes down in media. It's the same as marketing to your target audience. And so sometimes we have this comparison theory and we're not really understanding the ins and outs. And I think with media, sometimes we do that and we think if I go on TV, I'm going to make an astronomical amount of sales. And as today, as we talk about diversifying media, maybe that's great for another way in publicizing yourself. But if we're talking about sales conversion, maybe getting in front of your audience is doing exactly what we're doing today, doing a podcast tour, which is not as sexy, but it's more effective. And so I think a lot of business owners need to reframe their thought process and their mindset around what publicity actually means and what it will do for them, and be open-minded versus thinking that it has to be TV, it has to be radio, and that's not how this game works.
Yeah, certainly. I agree with that. And speaking of diversifying and not being one way, what does it mean if somebody's listening? What would you say it really means to actually diversify your media coverage as a business owner?
Absolutely. When we talk about diversification of media coverage, we mean looking at media and press on an entire landscape. And so if you think of all the different pieces of a pie, the larger pieces are going to be broadcast. So, going on your TV stations, morning shows, your hard hitting news, your radio outlets that can broadcast across so many different spectrums. And then we think about magazines. There's digital, there's print, there's digital newspapers, there's print newspapers. And then when you even go down even further in newspapers, you've got weeklies where they publish weeklies, you have monthlies. So it really gets insane. And
Yeah.
then when we think about non-traditional outlets, we think of our influencers. We've seen, especially recently in this past election, the rise of what we're calling news fluencers, where they are not trained journalists. But they're influencers who report news, and they often report it before your news station gets there, and people follow them for what's going on locally in their community. So it's not forgetting those guys when you have events or when you have something you want to publicize, and making sure that they're included. It includes YouTubers, streamers. Now all of our journalists are behind, or some of them are behind paywalls on Substack. Substack is like the golden gem right now. It's the golden nugget for
Yes.
getting in contact with journalists who care about the things that you care about. And even there's, Threads is major right now. So it's thinking about all the different ways that we communicate, and going outside of what you've been taught is the most important thing, TV, radio, magazines, and thinking, hey, what about a live stream? What about a podcast? What about those folks that can put me directly in front of my audience, but in a non-traditional way? And that's what we mean about diversifying your coverage and going outside, thinking outside the box.
So good. And Leah, what is relying on? Because of course, a lot of people do think about the traditional media most times. And so what do you think relying on that traditional press does in terms of limiting a brand when they're trying to grow?
You are literally cutting out so much of your target demographic. I try to tell folks, like, think about when you're surfing for something on the internet. You may start off on your phone, or it may come down on, TikTok shop or Instagram shop. And then by the time you hop over to your desktop, it's sending you ads on YouTube. And by the time you get to your TV, maybe you're pulling up YouTube on your TV and you're getting pushed advertisements or media that way. And so when you refuse, or you don't even try to submit yourself in front of these more non-traditional outlets, you're really cutting off audiences who are consuming media or press or their news in a completely different way. And a lot of it is generational. You can find consumer market reports out there. I always tell small business owners, like, look up Nielsen's data, look at consumer behavior. You can just Google consumer behavior 2025, or you can put it in Chat GPT nowadays and see, how is your audience consuming their news, their media, their press? Because if you don't target them or land in front of them in that way, you're literally cutting yourself off and missing sales, conversions, acquiring them into your email list, whatever that is. So if you really, really cared about your business and you were really there to serve that audience, you would try to meet them wherever they're at by any means necessary.
Yes. And speaking of, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is people think that getting on TV or these big platforms immediately is going to bring that sale. And so I want to talk about how the different types of media coverage serve different goals in your business, like the trust, the visibility, or the sales. How is that?
Absolutely. I think you just go back to marketing, and what exactly is marketing? It's a process that we use by which to, at some point, convert somebody from just, okay, I'm an onlooker. And then maybe the next time they see your brand, they're a little bit curious. They sign up for the email list. And the next time they see your brand, they take another action. So it's this process where we're moving them through this journey that at some point is going to hit for them to buy from you and actually be a customer and exchange cash. So a lot of the misnomers, especially with television, is folks will think, oh, my publicist booked me on Good Day or Good Morning, whatever it is in your city, and woohoo, I'm about to be rich. No.
Yeah.
That could be the first time somebody's interacting in your brand. And if you think of it on like a timeline, that's the first time. So maybe you're on TV and they're immediately going to your website. Depending on the cost of goods or the cost of services, it may be, let me hear what they have to see on TV, and I'm just going to sign up for the email list.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be converted right away. Now, I have had clients that have hopped off of a morning show and have texted me, girl, I made $1,000+ in sales. And I'm like, yes, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the goal when you are pursuing a public relations strategy. The goal is you're trying to publicize your business in a mass way and get in front of those folks so that you can convert them to customers quickly. It's not the mindset of when I go on TV, I'm going to make sales, because that is rarely happening. And
Mm-hmm.
with the change of media where we actually have YouTubers that do more views than broadcast television nowadays, we do have podcasters who have more listeners and more conversion than broadcast TV. It's you cannot look at it as that way, as I'm about to be rich, because it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. I will say, Leah, you have put, I mean, we're only a few minutes in, and you have put a lot of things into perspective. Even for me, just seeing that like a lot of these YouTubers are doing well in more than the people who are on TV, like you just said. And it's just like, that's interesting to see because we grew up on TV and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
everything was there in this one location. And now it's like you can get access and amplified in so many other platforms.
Yeah, you just, and really it's just a matter of paying attention. And
Yeah.
I know that small business owners, you are the accountant, you're the brand manager, you're the social
Yeah.
media manager, like you're all the things. So it's really hard for you to pay attention. But I will say it's the smallest thing. So like I said before, in this recent election, they invited influencers to a lot of the election events.
Yeah.
And it was in ways that we had never seen before. Even the political candidates going on podcasts that we listen to every day, like Call Me Daddy, really?
Yeah.
Or like
Yes.
the Breakfast Club, like, and I love the Breakfast Club. So all of these places where we've never seen political candidates value non-traditional media in that way, and they're saying, no, we realize that there's more numbers here, so these platforms are important, and we're going to put our dollars there, and we're going to make sure that we pitch them just as much as we would pitch Good Morning America, the Sherry Shepherd Show, Tamron Hall. And we're just seeing it diversified so much. It's insane. And even if you look at your music artists, half of them nowadays aren't even doing radio interviews. They're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go to this live streamer. I can't say his last name, Kai Sanat or Sanat. And I'm
Yes.
going to go sit in his house and live stream for 24 hours as he plays my record. And I can name the artists that have done it.
Yeah.
Glorilla, I remember when Offset did his album release with him.
Oh,
He didn't
yes.
first go to Breakfast Club or any of those guys. He went over Kai's house and live streamed with him for 24 hours, acted a fool. And that was how he launched his album. and
That is
so,
wild.
and then afterwards, we see all of these other hip hop artists who are like, he's on to something. And now they're live streaming with him. And because
Yeah.
you're putting it right in front of your audience, and they're getting more conversions that way. So again, it's thinking outside the box, but also paying attention to some of these launches and rollouts.
Yeah. That is so, so good. So good. And so now I want to shift to choosing the right media platform. So we talked about diversifying and what it means and all the ways that we can do it. So how can entrepreneurs actually identify the best types of media outlets for their audience and their brand goals?
Yeah, so with a lot of the platforms that I would definitely start locally. So really getting to know your local news anchors, the editors for the magazines, the journalists, and really watching the shows from front to back, realizing like, morning shows are more light, more fluffy. And it seems that this demographic is gravitating towards the show. And then looking at the different types of coverage amongst the different news stations in your local area. So I know here in Dallas, I know down to a T what the host of Good Morning Texas loves to cover, what those producers like to see on that TV, which is a little bit different from our Fox network. And so I pitch them differently, but I'm obsessed enough to know the differences between each and the different audiences that they serve. And then you take that same obsession, I would say, and now you're looking at what are the magazines in my area. So here in Dallas, we have D Magazine, we have one for business called D CEO, we have D Home, D Interiors, and I literally will buy all of those magazines and study them from cover to cover. What are
Wow.
the different sections that I see repeated over and over and over again? What are the types of stories? They're not just covering this restaurant. Are they covering a journey? Are they covering a specific type of food? And even a lot of those magazines, if you go to their media kit, they will tell you what they're covering each month. They will say, June is our travel issue. September is our philanthropy issue. December is our holiday gift guide. And so you can wedge your business in if you're that obsessive enough to study and see the writer. And most of these writers are on LinkedIn. You can reach out to them there, or in your newspaper, they often put their full email address and you can reach out to them that way. So you have to be obsessive in knowing who your audience is first, because you don't want to pitch someone who doesn't have the same audience. It's not a match. At the end of the day, we need to make money. So looking at who their audience is, look at who your audience is, be obsessive about it, and then start following those outlets and really studying the type of segments and the type of articles that they like to write and or cover.
That is so good. Spoken like a true expert. Yes. And so I love that. And one of the things you also mentioned earlier is when one of your clients got off a set and speaking about the increase in sales immediately from being on that platform. I want to talk about how do business owners think about balancing credibility building platforms with those conversion driven ones?
That's a really, really, really great question. Here's the thing. I look at PR in a number of ways. You just don't pitch a couple of TV stations and just kind of sit back. Because let's be honest, like I said before, with broadcast, particularly with TV, with many viewers moving from TV to now they're obsessive about YouTube or maybe streaming on other networks. No one's really getting up and watching the morning news anymore. They're probably listening to a morning podcast, listening to morning radio, X, Y, and Z. So you're always going to need a bulk of what I like to call vanity press and media, which is it looks great that you were at the station. It looks good that you took that photo with that news anchor while you were in the chair being interviewed. It looks great that you were at the radio station and now you are taking a picture with the radio host in front of the step and repeat. But maybe it didn't convert, but it's okay because that vanity piece is what's going to build your credibility. That vanity piece and that logo of saying as seen on or as heard on and going on your website will move that customer, like we talked about the journey, way faster to buying from you because you were on those outlets. So it doesn't convert to a sale now, but it's speeding up the process for you to get a sale in the future. Now, there are some outlets or some more non-traditional ones that will get you a sale faster. And so if you're thinking about you're going to go on a podcast that has version from that than you would probably going on local TV. And so you just have to weigh it. And again, it is a mindset thing and really realizing that don't count the little guys out. The ones you turn your nose up, those podcasts where you're like, well, I haven't heard of them and da-da-da, those are the ones that are actually converting. The bigger guys in perspective are some of them, I won't say all of them, are vanity. And so you have to weigh which ones would just look good when I post it on social media and which ones am I targeting? Because it's like I've been invited into a room to speak to 500 people that are in my target audience, i.e. a podcast, a live stream. It's perspective.
Yeah, that's definitely a great perspective. And I love that because people can see there's a difference and these are the impact. And again, this is not what we're normally used to, but this is the way it's making an impact. So I love that.
Exactly.
And Leah, I want to talk about, because you work with many clients and we have a lot of beginner entrepreneurs who are just getting started who are listening as well. And I would love it if you could share some advice for someone who is just getting started and they want to be intentional about their media outreach.
So first things first is you really need to go back and study your audience. A lot of times in marketing, we talk about customer avatars. And unfortunately, for some of us, we've gotten thrown into business. We may have acquired a business for somebody else, or we're just so passionate, we're just ready to put that baby out there and watch it fly.
Yeah.
But you have to genuinely know this is my audience. And you have to be strategic in studying your sales, studying who's opening your emails, studying who's interacting with you the most on social media. Those are your customers. And then you can target your outlets based off of that. And I think what happens is we throw everything at the wall, just trying to make it stick. And it's like, dude, you didn't need to be on that PBS station because that's not where your audience is. That's why you didn't get what you wanted out of it. So there's some of my clients that I don't pitch them for certain radio stations. It's not their audience. But if they're high-end luxury, the disposable income for my customers between this number, and they live in this zip code, oh, I already know the magazines and the newspapers that hit that zip code is going to go to that restaurant or that retail store where they're located. And that's how nitty-gritty you have to get in this PR game. Otherwise, no, you won't see your ROI. And yes, you will get frustrated.
And we do not want that because, like you said, a lot of people are doing it solo, so we don't have the time. And I love that. And it brings me to my next point of now that you've obsessed over who's in your audience. And like you mentioned, sometimes the outlets may not be a good fit for every client, depending on what they do. I want to talk about telling the right story for the right platform. So
Good.
how should entrepreneurs adjust their brand story depending on the type of media outlet they're pitching to?
It goes back to that obsession. I guess it's just all about obsession.
Yes, that's the word.
One of the top things for journalists, and I read the reports every year, and I also contribute it to these reports because I still do participate in journalism, at least here locally. Is one of the things is when you pitch every news outlet the same. And sometimes if it's their first time getting something from you, that could be the last time because they're like, wait a minute, you pitched me in this way, and that's not even what my show is about, you know?
Yeah.
So you really do have to watch the show. And perhaps you see a similar business or a similar segment or a similar brand that's like yours. And just watch and see, like, what type of questions is the journalist or the news anchor or the hostess asking? And how do I see myself fitting into that? So, for example, our morning show here in Dallas will have different segments that highlight different businesses and brands. But every Wednesday, we have a segment called Overcoming Challenges. And it's much longer than a normal segment on our morning show, but it highlights the story behind the business, the entrepreneur, what challenges that they have to overcome. How can that story inspire the audience? And then on the back end, they plug and promote all the things that you have about your business. They tell people where they can buy from you. They show off the products. But on the front end, it's telling your story. So it's watching these outlets or reading these magazines and like really picking up on what are the types of stories do they like to tell? And then how do I see my brand, my business, my story fitting in that way? And once you pick up on it, you'll realize there's no way that I could pitch, ABC the same way I would pitch NBC because I realize that they like this type of story and this outlet likes this type. And sometimes they're just very small tweaks. You're just changing the first sentence. But that changing and that noticing and that observation makes all the difference between whether they book you or not.
Yes. What are some tips for staying true to your voice while you're still aligning with what the media wants?
Yeah, so you have to, before you even pitch media, you need to know, like, what are my brand values? What are the things that I really, 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 really care about? And making sure that that's always included in your talking points. So, for example, right now we're helping with a seafood and steakhouse launch here in Dallas. We have a million seafood and steakhouses here in Dallas, but this particular seafood and steakhouse comes from a band of business owners that are from the Houston area, and it's more Cajun inspired with a southern flair. And so the thing about these business owners is they don't want to lead with themselves. They don't want to lead with the luxury. They're telling you the food is so good, we can lead with the food and we know you're coming. And so our entire strategy in their publicity campaign always led with the food, from the visuals to when we had influencers in and the types of content that was created, to putting the budget in to bring those influential folks in to try the food. The first person they met was not the owner of the restaurant. It was them sitting down and trying the food. And so when you're clear on that messaging, everything else follows and you can stay authentic to who you are no matter what news station or no matter what interview you book. And a lot of the press came out afterwards, and every single message was consistent in how great the food was. And then the story behind the restaurant came after. But that's because we intentionally knew ahead of time that that was the goal and the angle that we wanted to go with. So you have to be the same. Like, what are my values? What do I want people to get out of this interview? And that allows you to stay true and authentic to your brand.
That is so good. And I know a lot of people feel like when it comes to getting media attention and media coverage, they have to have this big newsworthy moment. So how can business owners position themselves as experts without having to wait on a quote unquote newsworthy moment?
Social media, I know. Everybody's grunting like, dang, she said social media. I sure did.
Yes.
Because I tell you what's the first thing that happens when you do book a news interview. And let's say you have something amazing and it goes outside your local news and now it's either regional or national. The first thing they're going to ask is probably for a clip or something that showcases your interviewing style, or they're going to want to see how you interview on camera. And so, with a lot of our clients who come to us that don't necessarily have that experience, we tell them to start using social media. Let's start positioning you now in anticipation of booking these interviews as the expert. So that way, when we pitch you as the beauty or the skincare expert or whatever, there's no question about it that you are who you say you are. You're validating yourself by your content. And I'll tell you this, they don't care how many people have liked and shared it. They
This is
just want to see you talking about the thing that you're now wanting to go on TV or the radio or be quoted for in the magazines for. They just want the social proof. And so, as much as you, and I talk to a lot of brand owners, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't, it feels weird turning the camera on my face and uploading this to YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so you don't like making money? You don't like
this
selling
is
your
true.
product? You don't like being in front of your audience? But then you get mad when you finally post your event and the tickets aren't selling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you would have established yourself and just did it anyways, consistently over and over and over and over again, you wouldn't be having these problems.
This
So
is true.
social media is going to be the way where you can establish yourself as a thought leader or a subject matter expert before even booking a news interview, a radio interview, or a magazine interview. And again, you don't have to be everywhere at once. Choose LinkedIn. If your audience is on LinkedIn, go nuts on LinkedIn. I had a friend who became a LinkedIn influencer with like 90,000 followers just because she went on LinkedIn every day and gave out 3 tips on life or whatever she was talking about from her car.
Wow.
90,000 followers.
That is
LinkedIn influencer. They were flying her to New York and telling her all the updates with LinkedIn just because she stuck with that one platform. She has Zip on IG, Zip on Facebook. She was a star on LinkedIn because she showed up
yeah.
every single day, even not knowing what was going to happen. And so small business owners and entrepreneurs or those in business, you have to do the same.
Yes. And I can definitely say that's one of the things we do at Black to Businesses. One of the first places we're going is, especially because of the style of our podcast, is to social media to see, are they, all the things you said, are they speaking, are they teaching, are they showing up? So that's so good. Yeah, so now I want to talk about, we've learned a lot. So we learned what diversifying media coverage actually means, how to choose the right platform for your brand, and then telling the right story. And so now I want to talk about, once you've actually secured a media feature, what are some of the steps that entrepreneurs should take to leverage it for that long-term visibility?
Well, first off, I want you guys to go back and always thank the journalist, the hostess, the producer, the booking producer, whoever who gave you the opportunity. In the world of PR, relationships are golden. And so many of these folks who have taken a chance on you often get pushed to the wayside. It's like, thank you for putting me on TV. And then you get your feature and you act like you did it on your own.
Yeah.
When a lot of these spots are supposed to be paid for, but they saw something special in your story. They saw something special in your pitch that they just had to get in front of their audience, where they were like, I'm not going to send you to sales. I'm not going to charge you the $3,000 or the $5,000 for this. You earned this. So that's why we call it earned media. You earned this because what you sent us was so powerful. So the least you can do, and it doesn't take you that much of your time, is say thank you. Another thing that these outlets are looking for is for you to post. And believe it or not, when you post and you're saying you're getting these features, it actually helps you to publicize yourself even more. And I don't understand why people don't add that as a part of their strategy. So with our clients, when they're going on TV, news, or whatever, we always tell them to pre-publicize it. Tell people to tune in, make a graphic, let people know you're going to be interviewed on the morning show or whatever. When the interview comes out, circulating it once again back on your social media. Thank you, Good Morning Texas, for having me on to talk about my top 4 financial tips right now in April in Financial Awareness a month. Blah, blah, blah. Because I tell you what, I've had more comments from producers and from hosts, from my clients who are tagging them and sharing, and they actually will go on their pages to see if they're publicizing it before they get to the news station. And I've had a producer say, wow, this one client is awesome. She had 400 likes and all these shares. And yeah, we're high-fiving each other here because they look for it. And I've also got the phone call that I didn't want to get, was we ran the story and we didn't see that your client ever shared it. And that was unfortunate. So it helps you as much as it helps to strengthen the relationship. And for those that look at public relations, media outreach, press outreach as a hybrid relationship where you're helping them, but they're also helping you, it can be way more beneficial for you down the line. Now, if you also have it in your budget, I would also suggest perhaps running an ad with your coverage. So that could be a Facebook ad, an Instagram ad, people seeing you at the station and your talking points and what the segment was about. Just put in a little bit of money behind it. Because again, we're trying to fast track that process of somebody just being an onlooker to being your customer. So boosting it so it falls onto their feed way faster for that validation is another tip on how to maximize your coverage.
That is so, so good. And I love that because we are all about repurposing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are some smart ways to also integrate media coverage into your sales, your marketing, or even your brand strategy?
Yeah, so even for sales, like I said, just putting a little bit more attention into
Mm-hmm.
paid ads and turning them into some sort of advertisement for your company is great. If you have a newsletter, I think that folks have kind of left email newsletters off by the wayside, and which, by the way, you guys do a great job. So if
Thank
anybody's looking
you.
for
Thank
an
you.
example, they should sign up for your email list on how to continue to nurture your customer, even if it's not a sale. You're just nurturing them. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
value you. Here's what I think you'd find important. And when you're repurposing those clips, like, hey, did you check us out on Channel 8 this past week? We were talking about X, Y, and Z. Maybe they didn't even know. Maybe they didn't see it. Not only do you get clicks to your segment, which, by the way, they're probably measuring at the station, but it's also, again, speeding up that process. So that helps with the sales process to repurpose in different ways. Your newsletter, perhaps you have your own podcast and you want to play a clip, or you want to talk about being on that news or the radio or whatever it is that you were doing. So there's a million ways to do it, from ads to your newsletters to boosting. But it's really a matter of getting outside of yourself. And pardon my French, but it's just kind of like, you're the ish, like
Yes.
let the world know. Because when I tell you they don't book everybody, they do not book everybody. If you get the opportunity, even if it's once a month, then you are that business owner and the world needs to know about it. So don't be afraid to share it.
Yes. I love that. And And you know, the other thing that I want to talk about is also when we talk about using it in your sales, I want to talk about how do you actually measure whether that media outreach is helping you scale and not just get attention.
So some of the things that we do, so I wouldn't expect a small business owner to have the software or the tool that a PR firm agency would use. So we definitely have software that we can use to measure ROI or the cost of, like, okay, when you did this TV segment, here's the monetary value of that. And so you can realize, like, hey, me earning that saved me $5,000 if I were to pay an ad. We have that software. I wouldn't expect a small business owner to pay that. However, there's certain things that I will do with clients if we want to track clicks or sales. So a lot of the news stations or even radio stations, if they do web stories, magazines, digital outlets, will ask you for a link. And so sometimes with a lot of my clients, I'm like, hey, if you can create a landing page or some sort of vanity link where we can go in the back end and track the clicks and track the conversions from that
Mm-hmm.
link, then we can tie it back to the segment versus what most people will do is just, here's my website, you can find me here. No, make a vanity link for that day or for that coverage. That way, as soon as you hop off, you can go on the back end to see how many click throughs you had based off of that appearance or based off of that person running a story on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I love that idea. And also, I want to talk about what do you think, Leah, is the long game when you're building a media presence that truly grows your brand?
Well, first, like you just said, it's a long game. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks want to hop in and I know a lot of publicists will feel me where you get that client and in 10 days it's like, where are we at? And it's like, no, you have to build a relationship. Really, the end of the day, it should be you are so valuable to these places where you're appearing, TV, radio, or even the
Mm-hmm.
magazine articles, that they are calling you to appear not once, but twice, but several times throughout the year. So that at that point, you don't even need me. And so I think long game, it took me years to be able to not have to send a press release or even a media alert. Now I just text the journalist, like, what do you have for this week? Or she'll text me, hey, I had somebody drop out. You got somebody that can come tomorrow? It's very casual. And so, but that took years and years to build those type of relationships. So you just have to keep it in perspective that PR is definitely a long game. And just like with marketing, where you have to test certain things out, certain marketing strategies out to see what hits, what sells, what doesn't, the same with PR. It may take months for a certain type of coverage to build up to the fact of where people are now following you, respecting you, looking at you as a leading source and or authority. It may take years for that. But if you just keep it all in perspective, and then do some of the things that we talked about today, constantly repurposing, constantly showing up on social media, even when you don't think anybody's showing up for you. Doing all of those things helps you to fast track that long game to get to where you need to be. And that's how you maximize PR. And I guarantee you, people are watching. You don't think they are, just because they're not liking your post don't mean you're watching. They're not watching. I've had folks tell me when I first hired a business coach, like, what did you do? It's like you blew up overnight. It's like, well, I didn't blow up overnight. I spent an astronomical amount of money, but
Yeah.
they noticed the shift. And so, even personally for me, it's hard for me. I'm a behind the scenes PR girl, but I still host events in Dallas, MC events. And I told myself at the beginning of this year, I'm going to show up better. And so, what does that mean for me? It's like, I hate getting my makeup done. So it's like, I'm a
Yes.
natural girly. But now I was like, every appearance that I have, TV, no matter how much it costs me, I'm going to get my makeup done. I'm going to make sure I look completely put together. I'm going to show up differently. And when I tell you, immediately people were like, wow, I was getting texts, DMs. So that small shift, even for me, people were watching, even if they didn't hit me up and say, ooh, look at you. They're watching. Small shifts.
Yes. Great, great, great advice. Leah, this has been so great. And I really want to move into the work that you are doing even more and some of the continued support. So, can you talk about some of the services and programs that you offer to actually help entrepreneurs diversify their media coverage?
Yes, so of course we have it where we do it for you, but we do recognize that with public relations, as it being a long-term strategy,
Yeah.
it does cost a retainer for most of our clients. And so for small business owners, sometimes that's often hard. So we do have packages for startups and small business owners where it's look, we'll help you get your media kit together. We'll write X amount of press releases for you. Most small business owners haven't really maximized their local coverage, and so we'll help with that. And we've put some packages together where it's affordable, but you do have to have a budget for PR. Now, if you're coming in and you're bootstrapping it yourself, and even that is too much for you, then we do have a DIY course, PR Yourself, with Leah Frazier, and it's a 4-week course. It's just once a day. Sorry, my dog's going crazy. It's just a
Love it.
once a week course where you show up and I teach you all of these strategies for you or someone on your team to implement for you. And I give you the templates. I give you the press release templates, the email pitch templates. You have all the tools, but now you DIY it yourself. We have some courses out there that are evergreen. So I just published one for authors because so many people were writing books, but I'm seeing them launch their books wrong. So
Ooh.
I did a DIY authors launch course that's evergreen where you can go out there and learn, if I'm going to publish a book, here's how I'm going to do it correctly so I could possibly be a bestseller on Amazon's list and then continue my coverage after it's released. And so that those are the type of courses and workshops that we offer. And then of course my podcast has so many, we're at 96 episodes right now. I promise you
Yeah.
we've talked about it all, and I even have stuff coming out now where it's like, oh, this ticked me off, let me tell you why. And people are like, thank you for telling me, I did not know that that was offensive to journalists, so
Mm.
so many resources. You can always just reach out, and I'm more than happy to send you a link to all the things that we've created to help you on your journey. And the book comes out this fall for PR Yourself.
Love, love, love all the amazing things. And we're definitely going to be sure to put those in the show notes, our newsletters, and continue to spread the word as well. And
Thank you.
Leah, you're welcome. And are there any specific entrepreneurs or business industries that you specialize in supporting?
Yes, we've kind of gotten it down to a science. So
Hmm.
we do a lot of Black-led retail, fashion, beauty. We've done apps, wellness, lifestyle, travel, restaurants, of course. We've represented banks and nonprofit projects, especially in social and racial justice. That's where I'm extremely passionate.
Yeah.
The only industries that we really refer out is if you're heavily involved in like healthcare, where it's super technical medically. And if it's really super technical from a science perspective, we definitely re-refer those out because those really take a specialized public relations firm to make sure that that messaging is there. And I never just was great at science. So,
I get it.
no, thank you.
I get it. That is ethical business.
Yes, I will send you elsewhere. But if you have something going on and you want the press there immediately, like something Olivia Pope would get together,
Hmm.
we're the folks you want to call because we can make it happen.
Love that. And where can people find to follow, connect with you to learn more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. Our website is think3media.com. You're going to spell three all the way out. And then you can connect with me. I'm really active on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. So that profile is under the Leah Frazier. And then I'm actually the Leah Frazier across all my platforms. So if you want to even see some of my part-time wellness stuff I'm into on TikTok, I only post my wellness stuff there, and it's people have a blast seeing all the stuff I post there because they're not used to seeing me in that light. So yeah, just reach out. I'm always willing to help.
Yes. And wait, I also read that you're a certified meditation instructor.
Yes, I
Wow.
am certified in meditation. I'm an advanced mindfulness practitioner. Also certified in vibrational sound therapy, and I'm a master Reiki teacher. So um,
Wow.
I would like to think that my career as an attorney and the stress really led me down this path to honoring my self-care and my wellness. And I have heavy, heavy, heavy boundaries
Yes.
um, to protect my body and to protect my mind. And so I love helping business owners, and particularly those in the Black and Brown communities, on how to manage their stress in a very healthy way. And so I never intended to get certified in any of this. And one thing just led to the other, and I saw how freeing it was for a lot of our community to have access to those holistic resources. And so I have a part-time business in wellness, and I'll be launching an app
Oh,
really
wow.
soon where people can access these tools on demand at any point in time, live classes and on demand classes in breath work, mindfulness, and meditation.
Mm. Leah, see, this was another thing I never intended, and it's just like this is amazing. People are tuning in and they're doing the things. It's so good. True
Thank
story.
you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Yeah. And being in this journey, what would you say on this journey? What would you say has been the best risk that you've taken?
The best risk that I've taken is that I bet on myself.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to get emotional here. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Hmm.
All good. Take
You
your
know, 10
time.
years ago, I left a job in law, making a lot of money, had
Mm,
just bought my dream car, had just put enough money back in savings to buy my first house. And God put it on my heart that that wasn't the path for me. And I used every ounce of savings, uh, every ounce of everything that I had to put into this dream. And I have been blessed beyond measure now. I lost it all in 2 years because I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
mm-hmm.
But I got it all back tenfold. And I am
Yes.
so extremely blessed. And I wake up every day so grateful to serve the people that I serve, to help their businesses, to help their dreams come true. And I couldn't imagine a better life
Mm,
and getting to help people that truly have remarkable businesses and to watch them grow. And us as a small agency to say, you know, we had a part in that. It is the most magical experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It gets hard. It's stressful as heck, managing egos and personalities and everything. But when you get to sit back and say, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't know where any of this was going to lead. 10 years ago, I was evicted. 10 years ago, I lost that BMW. It got repossessed. And here I am with everything back tenfold, making way more money than I did as an attorney, but impacting more people
mm-hmm.
on an astronomical level, especially here in Dallas. I can't, you can't quantify that. And I get to travel the world doing it. Have been to so many countries now, and I'm in Fiji working on a client project in Dallas. They don't even know I'm in Fiji, you know,
Wow.
hopping on Zooms from another country, and all because I had a vision and I just wouldn't take no for an answer, even when it got low. And so that's when I think about it. If anybody's out there listening and you're questioning, or maybe you're in that low spot, I'll just say, don't give up. I know it's cliche, but you have to believe in who you're serving and what you're bringing to the table way more than what that low point is presenting in front of you or fear.
Mm. Leah, you are a true testimony, my friend. I know I talked about it when I was having this conversation. Like we laughed about it, but I could just tell from listening to you and just how much you pour into even our audience today. And your journey is a true testimony of faith, of going with where you're led and letting God lead you. And you've created a beautiful life, all the risks, all the highs and the lows, and been relentless in that. So we thank you for doing what you are doing and just for also showing up for us today. So
No,
thank you.
thank you. I appreciate it. This was great. Thank you so much. And I don't cry often,
By the
but that
tears.
question definitely
Yeah.
reflection. Because I remember the pain. I remember the
Mm-hmm.
pain.
Yeah. It's real. It's real. And speaking of my reflecting, and my final question to you is, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
Ah, Black in business is powerful. Black in businesses, we bring a certain type of creativity
Yes.
and a type of swag to the culture that cannot be duplicated. They
Mm-hmm.
try, but they
Mm-hmm.
can't. And so if you really tap in and honor that uniqueness, which I always say that, that was just sprinkled onto us by the ancestors,
Yes.
um, you'll you'll see a difference. So Black in business, it's culture, it's our uniqueness, it's our flavor, it's our swag, it's our worldview, it's the highs and the lows, and being successful despite. That's Black in business to me.
Mm, beautifully said. Leah, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest on the show today. And thank you again for all the work that you're doing and pushing the culture forward. Thank you.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it.
This conversation with Leah was such a necessary reminder that visibility isn't about being everywhere. It's about being intentional. As a Black entrepreneur, especially if you're early in the game, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind because you're not in the press or you're not getting big media attention. But what Leah reminded us is that it's not about chasing clout. It's about choosing platforms that truly connect with your audience and moves your business forward. So here are 3 key takeaways to keep in mind as you are growing your visibility. First, you want to focus on where your audience actually is, not just where everyone else is showing up. Second, not all media coverage is created equal. Some builds trust, others drive sales. And third, repurpose your media wins so that they continue to work for your brand long after the feature drops. So if you want to revisit anything we've talked about or grab the links to resources mentioned, head over to blacktobusiness.com/250. And if you know another entrepreneur who's been trying to figure out how to get seen in a way that feels real and effective, go ahead and send them this episode so that you can help them, because you never know how much it might shift their strategy. Thank you so much for being a part of the Black to Business family. Your commitment to building with purpose, even when the spotlight isn't yet on you, is powerful. You're not just growing a business, you're shaping the future of our culture and our communities. Keep building boldly and keep pushing the culture forward. Later.